One of the questions I get asked most often is how to reduce stress. Unsurprising, since I feel like we're living in a stress simulation sometimes. In addition to your typical mental health toolbox of things like therapy or meditation that work for you, I have another tip that may help to ease your stress physiologically at the root. I've been taking a natural, drug free supplement formulated by nutritional psychologists called Ashwamag for a few months now, and I notice a significant difference in my stress levels. I've also noticed I'm sleeping a lot better and that my mind races less at night. I love and recommend Ashwamag because of its ingredients and the fact that it was formulated by nutritional psychologists. So let me break it down for you since I always tell you to do your research when it comes to supplements. Ashwamag contains ashwagandha, an adaptogenic herb that has been used in Ayurveda for thousands of years, and multiple studies have found that ashwagandha can significantly reduce stress levels. Ashwamag also contains two types of magnesium to help relax the body and mind. Low magnesium levels can also increase stress, by the way. There is L-theanine, which targets happy hormones to manage stress and improve mood. And then there's methylated vitamin B6. There was actually a recent study from 2022 that found that supplementing with vitamin B6 significantly reduced feelings of stress for participants. So, Ashwamag packs in all of these ingredients that are natural, good for you, and well researched, so you know that you are actually getting the bang for your buck that you want. I love that Ashwamag helps me feel calm, relaxed, and focused. Ashwamag is exclusively offering the Every Girl podcast listeners 20% off your monthly subscription for first time customers purchasing on the website. You just have to use code EveryGirl20, terms apply. So just visit ashwamag.com now. That's ASHWAMAG.com to start your stress relief journey.
Why does making friends as an adult feel so
What
hard?
should I wear on a first
What the
date?
hell is a form?
But that
Why
hookup
is
was
buying my
not
first
good.
home so
What do I want my
frustrating?
life to look like in 5 years?
We want to know too.
Since 2012, the Every Girl has been an online destination to help women around the world achieve the life of their dreams. Now, we're excited to bring you the same inspiring content with the Every Girl podcast.
I'm so excited to get to talk to you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. I'm so excited.
How have you been? How's your year been? How are you? I mean, you're obviously crushing.
Thanks. Good. Busy. Tiring.
The joys of a book tour. It must be so exhausting.
It's like a workout, like an emotional workout.
It's a
Yes.
lot, yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. Loved the book. I have so many questions to ask you about.
Hold on. I need to tell you really quick. You are glowing and I'm so jealous. Like you look
Thank you
perfect.
so much. Okay, my ring light, it's changed my life. Just
You
clips right on my
seriously,
computer.
you look so perfect and you're killing it.
Oh, you're the best. You're the best. I'm literally in my parents' guest room, like huddling in a corner. So
That's where I'm always doing stuff nowadays. And I'm like trying to act professional, but I'm like freaking out because I'm like, this fucking window.
yeah.
Okay. All right. We're back on.
Not your window in the back. Yeah.
All right. We're
So
focused.
look at us. We're doing our thing. No one knows that we're a mess right now.
Yeah, this is actually I've like figured out how people make things happen. I just didn't know.
Everyone else is in disarray at all times too.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
more chill than us. Okay. We're focused. We're going in.
Okay. Welcome back to the Evergirl podcast, Brianna.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Your episode was our audience's top favorite episodes of all time. Like
No
they
way.
are obsessed with you. They were obsessed with the episode. I heard from so many people that they listened to it multiple times.
Oh my-
And same with me. Like I listen to that episode still to this day.
Thank you. I didn't know everyone liked it that much. I'm so glad.
You have so many fans in the Evergirl podcast audience. You really do.
I hope you like this one as much,
Yeah,
listeners.
I have a feeling it's going to be maybe even better. We'll see.
Okay, let's try.
You were last on the podcast last year, January of 2024. What do you think that you have learned the most in the past year since we talked to you last?
It's a really good question. It has been a wild year, actually. I mean, just so much has changed. I feel like I found a lot of courage this year. And I know I'm not the only one because I've been hearing it just in people I've been talking to. I've really started to come into this sense of kind of like, do it all, do it now. And I think that I spent a lot of time in the waiting or like the postponing of joy. You know how we do that in little ways, like, we save the good bottle of wine and don't wear our favorite clothes. But then also in the big ways, I still have this thing in my head of like, save and wait. And now I'm kind of realizing there's this Annie Dillard quote about writing where she says, I'm paraphrasing, but if you save what's good for later, you open your safe and find ashes. That line has just been so in my head lately, this past year, and I really mean it. Don't open your safe and find ashes. That's what I keep telling myself. And I was just talking to someone about some things I want to do this year. And I heard myself saying this sentence and I thought, wow, that just sums it up. I've been dreaming about this for so long. I've been thinking about this for so long. I don't want to dream about it anymore. I want to do it. It's scary because I think when it's a dream, it's safe. When it's a dream, it's just this beautiful idea. It's contained. And then when you bring it into the world, it's like, well, then that's when, you risk getting disappointed or having to find more strength and courage. And it's like, right, but that's what the whole thing's about. Did that answer the question?
Better than I expected. That's an
You're good.
amazing answer. It's so true because I think we all, about one thing or another in our lives, have this feeling of, I'm not ready yet, or I'm not like that person yet. So I maybe want to quit my job and start my own business, or I want to get in a relationship, but I'm not ready yet. I'm not worthy enough yet. Like we have all of these reasons why not yet, not yet, not yet. So I totally agree. We like delay this gratification on like a small scale. And then on the big scale, we delay what we actually want in life because we feel like we're not ready for it. Do you think that that is rooted in like an insecurity, or it's like if you actually were to go after it now, you would have to address the hard parts, like to go after what we want, it isn't always easy. It's
Yeah.
typically really hard. So, what is it that like makes us want to constantly save and delay? And for a lot of us, that means we never actually get to do what we want.
I feel like a big part of it is worrying that more won't come later. If I like exhaust all things now, if I use it all up now, it's almost like we're thinking too far into the future and not enough into the now. And I think when we are holding our breath, waiting for some better moment to come, I think what we don't realize is we're actually like losing in the moment. Like it's either kind of done now or you lose something in essence, like diminishes when you try to like parse out your spirit, your energy, your momentum into the future. And I think what we forget or don't realize is when we give it all right now, right here, that's the virtue of what opens the doors to the future. It's not like we're on a conveyor belt where it's like we're looking at today and this is what there is. And okay, well, if I don't pick this up, then in the next day and next week, month, I'll pick it up then. It doesn't quite work like that. It works more like in this moment, what we say yes to is a doorway that brings us into the next chapter phase experience. And then in that chapter phase experience, there are more doorways. It's like the more we live into right now, the more doorways that open to the future. So the thing we fear is actually the thing we're already doing, just in this like really backwards subconscious way. Does that make sense? Like we're
Yes.
afraid that there won't be more for the future. It's like, but if you don't act now, then there won't be.
No, that's such a powerful way to look at it that I've never thought of. And that's so true. What were those things that you had been putting off prior to this year?
Everything like
All the above.
traveling, going out, dressing how I wanted, doing things in my career, living where I wanted, buying a house, like just all of these things that I'm always, waiting for the exact right place and the exact right time. Starting to realize, okay, like it's not quite working like that. It's like I either need to like show up all the way right now or I'm putting things in my safe. And I don't know if this is going to be a really weird analogy or if maybe this will hit with people. I have no idea, but I had a book signing like 2 nights ago and everyone was so nice. They were like posting stories and everything. And I was tired and I got home and I was like, oh, I should repost stuff. And then I was like, I don't feel like it. And then I kind of had this realization, right? But if you don't do it now, it's over. It's not just like, oh, the story is right. Like it's deeper than that. This is the moment. And I kind of realized like, oh, wow, that's a metaphor for something bigger that I'm really starting to understand right now. And it's a whole different skill set, actually. It's a whole different part of your brain that has to get strengthened. And it's a whole different relationship in trusting yourself. used to feel like I could really trust myself, and I still do, to build something in the future, right? If it's like 10 steps and everything is meticulous and I can anticipate everything and I take it really slow, I can trust myself to do that. Can I trust myself and almost strengthen or even like reestablish my relationship to myself in the now? Can I trust myself in the now? Can I trust myself in the moment? It's almost like I was in this place of, well, I couldn't trust myself in the past. I know I can trust myself in the future, but where was the trust in myself in the now? And that was like the real work. Can you just show up to today, make today a whole mini life? I know it's so cheesy, but like truly making the most of what is in front of you.
Something that I've talked about and have thought about is like I would be on vacations, and for weeks beforehand, I would be so excited for that vacation. I'd be like, oh, I just want to get there already. I want to be on that vacation. And then when I'm on the vacation, I'm like, oh, my stomach hurts a little bit. I kind of am like ready to go home. And it kind of dawned on me of I am never actually living in right here, right now, and nowhere else.
Yes.
That feeling of like being able to trust your present self. I'm living my present now instead of, yes, I will feel happy when I will be my best self, when I will do this scary thing in my career that I want to do, when dot, dot, dot. It's like I can do that right here today.
Right. I think what's scary about it too is that it's not an imagined life anymore. And it's not an imagined self. It's real. I was just writing this morning too. I was like, I think the last act of healing is recovering and restoring your willingness to try again, to do it again, and to know that whatever happened in the past, however you think you failed, whatever you think you did wrong, how things fell apart, that doesn't mean the cycle's going to repeat itself. That doesn't mean don't ever love again. That doesn't mean don't ever move again. It doesn't mean don't ever write a book again or whatever it is.
It is interesting because I think this shows up for people in their career life, and it also shows up in their dating. I mean, a very obvious example of, I got broken up with or my heart got broken. How do I ever learn to trust again? How do I ever learn to want love and be in love and seek out love when I know that this thing happened that really hurt and I don't want to go through it again? And we see the same thing in our career of like, maybe I failed, maybe I got fired from this job, maybe this thing that I went on a limb to do didn't work out. And I feel that rejection. So, how can we work to get over rejection to be able to show up the way that we want in the present and future?
I think that even more than losing our trust in life, what has really happened is that we've lost our trust in ourselves. It's like something that we once thought was so right, something that we once thought made so much sense, something that we once thought we really wanted turned out to not be what we imagined it would be. And to me, it is a deeper and further lesson into reintegrating into the now. Because again, you were still, even back then, operating in like forecasting and projections rather than in the now. And part of, I think, reestablishing your relationship to right now is understanding the fluid, evolving, changing, shifting nature of things. So it's not like, oh, I will strike once and it's done. It's like rebuilding our ability to show up and really like create our lives with a fullness and wholeness means I'm going to show up and I'm going to meet this moment. And yes, part of it is I might not have every factor in the equation. I might not know what's right around the bend. There might be things I don't know. And what I'm finding trust in is that no matter what it is, I have the groundedness, the principles, the fortitude, and the resilience to respond and to handle it and to keep going. And I find those things in watching other people or just knowing other people who have them and do that. And I'm like, oh, wow, you didn't take it so personally or think there's something so wrong with you. Life continues to do what life is always going to do, which is thrill us, shock us, surprise us, bless us, teach us, guide us. And the question really becomes like, are you in the arena or not? Are you on the ride or not? And I think a lot of like people who are healing do this. And I definitely did for like, I don't know, 10 years. You almost try to like quiet your whole experience because it's easier to like not screw it up again.
That's so true. You want to be like safe. So you're making like safe choices. Like I know a lot of people who, again, in that example of I'm just going to do this very like stable job that I know won't hurt me. So in the kind of subduing your risk, you're also subduing life in all emotions you can feel. You're subduing the joy, the excitement, the passion.
That's right.
How do people going through that healing get out of that?
The place that I've come to is if I screw up, I screw up. Like, seriously. Like, I can't live in this self-punishing space of not even being willing to try. I'm going to do the absolute best I can. If I mess up, I'm going to learn from it, and then I'm going to try again. What you were saying about how when you close off one end of the spectrum of your experience, where it's like you're kind of quieting down the joy, the excitement, right? It's happening because you're also simultaneously just trying to quiet the other end of the spectrum. If you turn off one half, you turn off the other half. And so that's why I always think of healing as not we get to a place where things are perfect, because I actually think that's when you're in limbo. That's what people think of as like a healing, where things are just kind of like leveled out and controlled. And I actually think the definition of it really is that you're able to have your full human experience without getting stuck in one moment, chapter, failure, experience, or another. When it's time to grieve, you grieve. And when you've messed something up, you learn. And then also when joy is present, you feel it. You are not holding yourself back simultaneously. For a lot of people, definitely myself included, it's not even just not wanting to mess up. I think it's also wanting to be accepted, known, seen, loved, connected. Being like, well, if I am myself, what if not everyone likes me? There's a chapter in my book, and the whole chapter is one sentence. And it's read this when kids stop worrying about what other people think or something like that. And the sentence is just, the more you like something, the less you need other people to. And the less you need other people to, the more that they do. When I am in the place of living and having the experience for myself, I have less and less of a hunger for other people's affirmation. I don't need other people to feel for me. I don't need them to see for me. I don't need them to love it for me, because I love it. And then I think that it has this funny mirroring ripple effect where, like, it doesn't even matter what you are doing. Like, if you really love it, people love it too. But when it's not a whole authentic experience where people can like feel it, what we perceive as other people's quote unquote disapproval a lot of the time is an extension and projection of our own unsureness. And when we come into a more whole place of, no, I actually genuinely like this and want this, even the idea of how do other people see this or how do other people feel about this kind of leaves your mind altogether, because you don't need it. You don't need this supplementary perspective to make yourself feel better about it. But again, getting back into that place of, I'm really living, I'm really experiencing, I'm really in the moment. It is really harder than I think I ever imagined it to be, to reconnect to what you actually want versus what you think you're supposed to do, or what you are just not afraid to do, or what other people want for you, or what you thought your life is supposed to be. And I think reconnecting those threads of want, it's like a relationship to yourself. People kind of go into it like, well, what do I want for my life? Like, that question is too big. You can't start there. You have to start way smaller. Like, how do I actually want to take my coffee this morning? If I go to a store, what shirt do I actually like? What color do I actually want to paint my nails? I don't know. You have to kind of start on these very small places, start to reestablish your relationship to your own body knowing. I did this for years. And I would notice that when something was a yes, my body would almost like open up. It's very, very subtle. So you have to really be paying attention. But there was kind of this like expansion feeling, almost as though like my shoulders would go back a little and my chest would open a little and my stomach would feel a little more open. When something was a no, it would be the inverse. So it would be a constrict. When you apply that to literally like, do I like this shirt? I'm so serious. That simple. You start to understand that when you redevelop really, because I think we actually all have it. It just gets very butchered over time. When you redevelop that relationship with yourself to understand yourself and to hear yourself, and you can start applying it to the bigger things. No, I don't actually really want to go on that vacation. No, I don't actually really want to go out this weekend. Actually, I really do want to go out this weekend. And you stop running your life on this weird narrative programmed autopilot. And it starts coming from a real place. And I think that's the moment that things start to click in the way that you so badly want them to. Sometimes the journey can feel really counterintuitive, but authenticity, I don't think it's supposed to fit a picture in your head. I think it's supposed to just be kind of a quilt when you patchwork, kind of like a mosaic, a patchwork mosaic of experiences for your life.
And that's the end of the episode. No, that was so honestly mind-blowing because it's so true how far from our authenticity we get
Mhm.
because those little things like, how do I actually want my coffee? Do I like this shirt or not? If we think about how hard it is for most of us to actually know, but do we actually want this or not? If you're going to order a coffee, it then becomes, I heard that having like one pump of the sugar free isn't as healthy as having this
And
kind of almond milk versus this oat milk, blah, blah, blah. And like when you're picking out a shirt, for a lot of people, they've been so deprogrammed from, do I like it or not?
yeah,
Because of all the, well, what would my mom say about this shirt? Because this shirt wasn't cool. What if my friend that I'm going to go see later thinks it's weird? And we don't even realize how much we're not actually making decisions based on our own authenticity because we've been so deprogrammed out of it. I think that might be one of the most powerful exercises I've ever heard is to start checking in with what does your body want? Like, how is your body responding when you think about what kind of milk to put in your coffee or what kind of flavor to add or whether or not to buy the shirt or whether or not to go out? Those small decisions are actually the really big ones because that's how we train ourselves back to that authenticity.
and I noticed for myself that when I started to rebuild my relationship to actually being able to hear and understand what's a yes and what's a no, and also the layers of that. Sometimes it's like, yes, but it's not completely a yes. No, but in this condition. Do you know what I mean? It's not always so black and white. But that when the bigger questions came, I didn't really have to think about them so much. There was just kind of a bigger, stronger, intuitive self-understanding. But I think that one of the biggest reasons that we get so disconnected from our natural perception and sense of what we want is I think most of us spend the majority of our lives convincing ourselves that we want things we do not actually want. And I think that's where we get screwed up with it. When we have to go into something and can't even be honest with our own selves. And we have to just convince her, like, just to make ourselves feel all right. Yes, I do want this. I want this person. I want to go to this place. I want to be doing this work, whatever else. That's when we get really screwed up with it. And I think the way that you know that that's occurring is if the yes requires a lot of mental gymnastics. And I hear the difference when people talk about things actually that I'm like, oh, I can tell now. Because when something's a yes for people, they don't explain too much about why it's a yes. They just say, I'm doing this thing now.
That's what I thought you were going to say because we all kind of have that instance where we see someone who's like explaining why they're doing something and you're like, okay, I get it. And it's kind of because they're trying to explain it to themselves.
Yeah. It feels so off that it's like it requires all these extra. Supposed to go on this trip this weekend. It was my best friend for all of these years. And like I promised her I would go. And like it's like all this stuff. And so I think that another important part of getting back into into authenticity, into knowing what you want is being willing and able to just admit it to yourself, even if you're not willing, ready, or able to share it with anyone else in the world. That's okay. Know people where their pivot point looks like this. Deep breath. I know this is not the right work for me. I know that this is not the right job. Right now, I have this job because it is paying the bills. And when I am not doing it, I am networking, connecting, applying, visualizing, figuring out what my next steps are. And even if the answer isn't on my doorstep tomorrow, I firstly acknowledge and recognize this is not what I want, but also I can be okay in that space while making my way to the answer without like blowing up my whole life. Because I think that's another reason that we don't, even if we do know or want to know, it almost feels overwhelming. Because when you realize you're in a non-truth, you're like, oh my God, well, I want it out now. And it's like, well, that's not only not always possible, a lot of the time it's not even smart. It's unwise. We don't want to destabilize in our journey. We want to have closure and a beautiful ending and then open up to the next beginning and try to move with some softness and grace. And I think that comes from being able to be in a place within yourself that says, okay, I'm ready for the next thing. But just because that is the case, it does not mean I have to destroy what's in front of me right now and go running to find it. My life can evolve in a softer and more supportive way. But that takes a lot of practice of like non-reactivity internally, I think.
What would you say for people who feel like they are so kind of disconnected from their authenticity that they may not even know what they want in life to the point that they feel stagnant or they feel almost kind of like debilitated of like they don't know what to do next. They kind of feel unhappy and that's all they know, but they don't know where to go.
First of all, you have no idea how not alone you are. You have no idea how many people also feel that way and how normal that is actually. I know that you feel right now like you're the only person who doesn't have a clue, but it's probably more normal than not. And in the same way that figuring out what you want in the big picture starts with reestablishing your connection to the little things, I think that it's a matter of beginning to dream again. It's finding things that inspire you, make a folder of them, make a list of them, flip through magazines, go online, like watch movies, listen to music. And even if you're parsing through, I don't know, the majority of it and it doesn't make you feel something yet, keep going. Keep going until you do find your muses, the things that actually light you up. And it doesn't even have to be for you or applied to you. It's good enough if it's just, I think that's cool. I enjoy this. And something that I've done before, I would tell people to go to their Instagram and go to their saved posts. You can privately save posts. I was like, this is who you are. This is a mix of your subconscious beliefs and also who you want to be. Like, this is your vision board. Or I'll say, go to your Pinterest. Build out a Pinterest page that's your dream Pinterest. Your job is to make your life look like that, not to copy other people, but to understand that this is your blueprint. These are the things you actually care about. I would look at other people's and I'd be like, yeah, that is exactly like it would almost like look like them. Do you know what I mean? Like every single person though, every person you saved kind of looks like you. And they'd be like, oh my God, yeah. And I'd be like, and every outfit you saved looks just like you. And they're like, oh my God, yeah.
That's really interesting.
And so I think it's probably cheesy, but it's just a matter of being willing to be inspired again and to not let the weight of life put a cloud over you so much so that you can't look up anymore.
And so many of us get stuck in this place of like, this is the life we chose. There's no other option. Like I know of a lot of people, for example, who go to school to become a nurse and then they spend their career as a nurse and they're like, I hate being a nurse, but I've invested all of this time. I can't do anything else. And they feel this like stuckness. So it's almost like you put on blinders to be like, I know I'm unhappy, but I'm going to go numb because I'm going to put on the blinders so that I don't know what could be. And I think sometimes that's where the lack of want and desire and the lack of knowing where you actually want to go in your life comes from is like we have subconsciously put on blinders to keep us in the path that we chose. And it's also crazy to me how like the path that we were supposed to have chosen when we were young, for many of us, you know, we picked a major when we were 18 or we picked a job when we were in our early 20s or we picked a partner when we're even if you're in your 30s, that you cannot change your mind and grow and be able to choose something else because we have put on the blinders of like, I have to commit to this for my life because I chose this feels crazy to me. So it makes sense to bit by bit remove those blinders by seeking out what you actually feel called to and inspired by.
Yeah, and what you're describing is sinking cost fallacy. It's a
Yeah.
cognitive bias, if anyone doesn't know who's listening, where it's basically like, essentially, you stay on a sinking ship because you've invested so much into the ship, not realizing this ship is sinking either way. And so every additional bit of your life, of your money, of your time that you add to it worsens the burden, not levels it out. I think people do this a lot too. Wait, exactly what you just said. That's just what it made me think of. And you're like, I've spent so much time. I spent so much money. I committed to this. I got attached to this idea. And it's like, right, but if it's not working, staying on the ship is just increasing the amount of money, time, and life that's going by. In the past few days, I don't know why this has come up so many times. Maybe it's something bigger than me. You know how there's a phrase called ego death? When you have an
Mm.
experience and your ego is like kind of shattered and a new self is reborn.
Yes.
This thing of like an ego surrender, not life killing it off, but like you are choosing to go to a place of I'm going to let my ego about this go. And by ego, I mean my preconceived notions about it, my attachments to it, what I thought it should be, in place of being able to meet it for what it actually is and see it for what it actually is. It's a really weird analogy. It's like very simple. I use it all the time and I think about it to myself all the time. It's the difference between when you plan an outfit in your head and then you go to put it on and it doesn't work. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Every day of my life, yes.
Talking about? And then like the only real way to do it is try things on and like feel it out. And then you're like, oh yeah, this works. And then you just kind of know it. No one has to tell you it works. Like when it works, you know it because you feel it. You're like,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah, right. But if you go and you're like, no, I picked this and this, but then you put on, you're like, this just doesn't feel right today. It's not about trusting your ability to choose the right outfit. It's about trusting your ability to adapt, respond, and try different things until you get it right. It's a really simple everyday analogy to me that explains a way, way, way bigger concept and a way bigger truth. I have a friend who is an artist and she talks about it in terms of like creating a painting. She's like, you can have the whole thing mapped out in your head. When you sit down to really start painting it out, but if you stay with the original idea because you're so attached to it, you're not going to have a painting you're happy with. You have to be able to say, okay, this is where I started with it, but you know what? And this is not quite where it's going right now. So I'm going to intuit, sense, and change course to make it what I know works and feels right and feels good and looks good and I'm proud of, even if it actually looks nothing like the original idea. But I think there's also like a piece of like, who wants to be wrong?
Right.
Like,
Right. Especially in our culture that has programmed us to be like, oh no, you broke up with the person you thought was your forever person, or you changed jobs. Especially, I think social media had such an element to that too, because we're posting, look how amazing things are. And then it feels like we're a liar. Like there's so many layers to why we're programmed to like, if we change our mind or if we grow out of something that feels like we were wrong and we don't want to be that.
yeah. And I think it's, again, the ego surrender thing. No one's actually judging us for changing course. If anything, they are like inspired and encouraged and affirmed in their own pathways.
And
Yes.
maybe even jealous. Yeah. Some people are like, oh, you
I
left your
can
career. Damn, I wish I did that.
I have never come across, heard about, seen someone making a change in their life, whether it's starting a relationship or ending one, leaving a job, going back to school, whatever it was, that has not profoundly inspired me. And it probably terrified them to do it. But by the time I ever learned about it, usually my only thought was, wow, good for them.
You're so right, same. All you think of is like, "Wow, that's amazing." Like,
That's
you are
my
living
courage
authentically.
and I'm inspired. But then in our own heads, we're like, oh my God.
Everyone's gonna judge us. It's so true, but no one's looking and thinking, "You're an idiot." Like, you're like, "Wow, I'm so
Wow.
inspired."
Yeah.
We have to, like, give ourselves the freedom to try on many outfits and to be okay to change the outfit when it doesn't feel right, instead of feeling like, "Because I picked this outfit, it has to be the one I wear all day." You can change the outfit.
Thank you for carrying on with that analogy. Yes. Thank you. Like that sums up the whole point. I'm going to write a book and that's the sentence. It's okay to change the
Actually, the title of the book, "It's Okay to Change the Outfit."
that would actually be such a good
I
title.
mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's a great title.
You can
Any
write
metaphor
it's
you heard
all
it
you
here first, everyone. Brianna's next book, "It's
it's
Okay to
okay
Change
to
the
change the
Outfit."
outfit. I really like getting my like ideas.
Your creative wheels turning. Oh my god, I love that. The world needs that book, so I
I'm
selfishly
not at
want
you
that.
guys.
You've heard of my tips for gut health or hormonal health, but there are two crucial areas of health that most of us, especially in today's world, need to pay more attention to, and most of us don't. I'm talking about your eye health and your brain health. Are you staring at a screen pretty much all day? Do you scroll on TikTok when you wake up, work on a computer all day, and then binge Real Housewives at night? you probably need to do more to protect your eyes against blue light. Prolonged exposure to the blue light from our screens or even natural sunlight can lead to digital eye fatigue, dry eyes, blurred vision, and headaches, and can impact our ability to focus, our sleep quality, and our energy levels during the day because it messes with our circadian rhythms. Since screens are pretty unavoidable, I have a really important wellness girl tip. Get some lutein and zeaxanthin into your diet. These antioxidants are naturally occurring macular carotenoids found in foods like certain fruits and egg yolk, and they help maintain eye and brain health. Research shows that they work effectively to filter out blue light and help promote eye and brain health at all ages. Unfortunately, like other nutrients like vitamin D, our bodies can't produce lutein or zeaxanthin on its own, so we need to get it from the foods and supplements that we consume. You can find more information at www.lutamax.com/LFEA and find a high-quality lutein and zeaxanthin supplement to promote eye health at lutamax.com/where to buy. Find the links in the show description below for lots of good info on how to take care of your eyes and brain. What are some signs that we are on the right path? If we are on a path that feels authentic to us, how do we know?
This is a really good question. And the answer is simple but tough. When we're moving in the right direction, even if we are not all the way where we want to be, life starts to positively respond, even at the beginning phases. When you move somewhere and everything is friction, you're not meeting people, you feel off. You know what I mean? And it's like no matter what you do, there's nothing about it that's easily coming together in any way. That's life showing you that it's not working with you in the way that it probably needs to. And then by comparison, you will know if you have experienced this or you do experience it. It is unmistakable. When you move somewhere that is truly in alignment, out of nowhere, around the corner, you will find your new best friend. You will get invited somewhere. Things will click. And then things in other parts of your life will start to click. I actually have this really specific experience that I moved. I've traveled a lot and moved a lot the last few years, and that's honestly on my list of in 2025 is settling a little, which is hilarious because
Yeah.
it's
You're very far from that right now.
okay because we're changing the outfit and it's okay.
Right. That's okay. We're changing the outfit.
But I was living in one place and finishing the book that just came out. I didn't even realize until I had something to compare it to. It was just like pulling teeth. It was not smooth. It was not easy. I kept giving up on it. I was like, it doesn't feel right. It's not coming together. This isn't the right title. This isn't right. It just was. And then I kind of put that aside because I was moving anyway. And then when I moved and I got into this totally new environment, I'm really not kidding you. The book came together like that.
Wow.
Yeah. And so did a bunch of other things that had nothing to do with changing houses. And I was really struck by that. That's life responding. That's life working with me now. But I've seen it in friends as well. And it's kind of nice to see it outside of myself. You know what I mean? To be able to witness as a third party. You've seen it in friends where literally physically moved somewhere. I have this one friend, she moves around quite a bit. And she always says every time somehow that I go back to this one city, all of my work starts grinding to a halt.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And she's like, and I truly have no idea why, because there are no other commonalities to this. But all I know is that every time I go there, things slow. And then every time I go back to the city that's her main place she's at, things almost come back online. And this is a really long answer to your question, but I feel kind of inspired by it because it's something that I wish I had known and understood because it would have helped me so much. And it's not to say, listen, you don't have to overthink every little hiccup. You get cut off
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, this city isn't for me. It's not that. You don't have to get crazy about it. Give it 6 months, give it a year. And in a year, if life is not responding at all, if nothing is coming together, and if you've given a real effort to make it so, it's a form of communication to you. And then I think that if you haven't had the experience before, you will, where you start moving in the right direction of this is the next right thing. And then things just start showing up and appearing for you and connecting. And you're like, oh, okay, I totally get it. And by the way, knowing what that next right thing is, everyone's always looking for some huge epiphany, vision, dream. And it almost never works like that ever for anyone. It's
So
always
true.
this quiet, just I always kind of wanted to live there. I always kind of wanted to try this. You know what? I always really loved this thing for everyone. It seriously starts like almost as a gesture like that. That's always been intriguing to me. And then you kind of look into it more. And then you're like, oh, you know what? I can make that work. This could happen. It could come together this way. And then you start to form, the next piece of, again, that mosaic of experience we're talking about, that patchwork. And instead of trying to construct your life as this one story, you understand that it is so much more dimensional and so much more rich and whole than that. The person you were 5 years ago is not the same protagonist in the story today. It is not a sequential thing. It's like a collection of experiences and stories, and you are at the center of it, but you even evolve too. You know what I mean? Like you're slightly different in all of it. So it's like holding yourself to the same self-concept or standard of what you did years and years ago, or even, I don't know, last week.
Yeah,
It,
truly.
it does nothing but hold you back. You think it gives you structure, but it really holds you back.
And I love that idea of paying attention to how I don't want to say easy for people to interpret it like, oh, then that means that I don't have to try hard and everything just happens for me. But easy in the way of like, you don't have to force something so hard. You put in a lot of passion and effort and time and love into the life you want, but it doesn't have to feel like you're treading in place in order to get things to happen. There's like a certain ease with it
Right.
that things start to work out when you are on the right path.
Life starts to meet you halfway.
That's such a beautiful way to see it. This conversation is reminding me of a chapter from the new book that I really resonated with. The chapter was read this when you're always waiting for something bad to happen. And I think this is such a common belief that the more we get, whether it's we love more people, we get more successful in our career, it becomes more vulnerable. Like we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. So why did you say that true success is like adding more legs beneath a table?
First of all, I could stand on a soapbox and yell about this for hours
This is the place to do it.
because I'm so passionate about this topic. To be very blunt, I believe that all of the negative conditioning we have received about this is the world's way of making sure we are as small as possible and that our lives are as one dimensional as possible. So let me start with that. And second of all, I have struggled with this so much in my own life, terrified to build, to grow, to move forward, thinking what could only get worse, right? Like something bad has to happen to level it out to even the scales. That life is an exact proportion of good and bad. And it's not even close to true. When you are doing things the right way, and by the right way, I mean in integrity, success should strengthen and stabilize you, not put you at a deeper and further risk. It is like adding legs beneath a table. What that means is if you have 4 legs beneath the table and 1 or 2 go out, the table falls over. If you have 15 and 1 or 2 go out, you're absolutely fine. And that's the essence of what success should be and actually is. And the only time that it is not that is when we're treating it like a house of cards. We're building something without that strong foundation. We're building something out of integrity. We're building something that we're not proud of or that's not true to us or that we don't really want. All those things that make things fragile. We're not taught about success in this way. We're taught about success as, how other people perceive us. You know what I mean? Like some crowning glory moment when it's actually like a shifted nature of your own existence and reality in a day-to-day way. It's not the elevator speech, it's the to-do list. Whatever you're choosing for your life next, like whether it's where to live, what to do, who to be with, it's not the elevator speech. It's not, this is my job title. This is my, it's the day-to-day to-do list. That's how you'll know whether or not you actually want something. Like, are you not only okay with the day-to-day to-do list, but does it thrill you? Does it excite you? There are so many things that I thought, I think I would love to do that. And then when I would imagine what it would be each day, I was like, oh no, I don't actually want that. I like the idea, but I don't really want that. But when people start building the idea without the real desire to have that experience, it does become a house of cards thing where it's like if something gets knocked down, the whole thing kind of crumbles. There's nothing strong and firm and like solid underneath. But yeah, this is such a thing where we think that like we could only have like 5% of goodness in our lives. And it's like you have no idea how much that is not the way it works at all. And I have actually really so many experiences in so many different arenas of my life with this over the years where like I would literally have anxiety if I had like anything more than the bare minimum.
What's an example? Like, would it be like if you got a little bit of financial success and it feels like, oh God, this could all go away tomorrow?
Yes, and that's like so not how it works. I remember this is many, 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 many years ago. I had $2,000 in savings and like $65,000 of debt, right? And I had so much anxiety about that $2,000. I was like, people are starving. Like, I can't have a savings. I don't even know where my head was at. Like, you know what I mean? I was lost.
Totally.
I fortunately had a really good friend who was like, okay, so I love where your heart is at and I know you, but I really need you to keep that. I really need you to keep that because you are like one car repair or urgent care trip away from being in trouble again. And I need you to take care of yourself a little. And like this had never clicked. I didn't even know to think this way. It was just this discomfort with having anything more than the bare minimum. And what I came to find is the more I actually took care of myself, I've actually been able to help others exponentially more. Whatever I intended to do at the beginning, I'm actually able to do when I'm okay first. And
You've
I'm
built
able
more legs in the
to build more
table.
legs on the table. And then also like it can actually come from a place of my cup is overflowing. Please take some. Not a place of I have just enough in my cup to drink for the day, but I'm just going to pour it into your cup.
Because that's like a lack of what you're able to give also. Like the cup runneth over means you have more to offer. It's
Yeah.
like not even a lack mindset for you or for what you can do with it.
Right. And then it's just expansive. I also know people who allow people to take, I almost want to say. That applies to like even their time and energy a lot of the time too. And I find that very few things breed as much resentment quite as that, to be honest with you. And I've definitely felt it too. So I recognize it and understand it, where you're like, I'm running on empty. I barely have anything right now. And you're asking me for more than I have. And then you want to be a good person and a good friend and a good whatever. You feel this guilt, like, okay, I want to show up in all these ways and be all these things. And it's like, but you have to show up for yourself first. And it's not so that you don't have those responsibilities or people or things in your life. It's so that you're actually able to meet them. Like the version of you who is there for the people you love, who is actually taken care of. It's like the greatest thing you can offer other people is your own healthy self.
That's so true. Because we all know that experience of being in relationship with someone, whether it's our mom, a significant other, whatever, where they are fully healed, fully themselves, fully authentic. Our experience and our life changes because of how they are showing up in theirs.
There's a saying, hurt people, and heal people, heal people. And
Mhm.
I think that we all do that without even knowing that we are. So even if it's not like a concerted, specific effort on your behalf, where you are at ripples out. What seeds you plant in yourself matters. And it matters not just for you, it matters for everyone around you. You have the capacity to impact in ways you don't even know. Truly can't even imagine. And I think what I'm really trying to get at is you matter and you are worth being taken care of. And it's a good thing for you to be okay. You have to feel guilty about it.
That is so important, I think, especially for women to
Oh my,
hear because we have been so
you took it out of my mouth. You took it out of my
Agreed.
mouth. I swear to God, it was at the tip of my tongue. I was like, for women, you think?
We're just like literally reading minds right now.
Go on. Yes.
We're in a wavelength, but
Yeah.
we have been programmed to feel guilty if we are
Yes.
doing something for ourselves and not
Yes.
spending time for other people. The most obvious example is with moms. For centuries, it's been like, you have to give up yourself. You have to be selfless. Like that was the ultimate goal of women, was to be selfless, literally without self. And like, where has that gotten us in the world? Imagine if we were a world of women that were so full of self and encouraged to be that. How much more could we take care of other people? The capacity that we would have as a world would be vastly different.
It's just not even imaginable, the difference. And I mean that. And I
Yeah.
think that we are conditioned at some level to feel like if we are basically doing anything other than suffering, then something's wrong. When it's like, no, no,
So
no. If
true.
that's the reality, something's wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's the
It's
opposite.
so true. It's so true. Some examples I've recently thought of in this lens is, for a long time, it's kind of like the toxic productivity thing. Like if I'm sitting on the couch watching TV and you kind of feel like, oh, I'm not being productive. Like I feel guilty. Like I'm sitting here watching TV and enjoying the show, but I feel guilty. I feel
Mm,
like I shouldn't be doing this.
yep.
I shouldn't be feeling the pleasure of sitting with nothing to do. Or I also see this showing up with people for exercise where you've been so programmed to be like, no pain, no gain, right? Like exercise can't be enjoyable or else it's not worth it. Like we are so conditioned to feel like life shouldn't feel good for us,
Yeah.
like that it has to be this really hard, painful thing. And that shows up so much in our modern day culture.
I think it's also like an upper limit problem, honestly. I think within ourselves, and I think also generationally, the max capacity that we've been at, I mean, not everyone, but many people, is bare minimum. So anything new, no matter how good, is uncomfortable until it's also familiar. And when your familiar is bare minimum, and also when your generational familiar is bare minimum, and it doesn't matter like how positive, healthy, impactful, good it is, there are growing pains or stretching pains. And that's when your higher cognition has to come in and say, no, like I'm in the driver's seat and I know we're heading in the right direction. You will get used to this because your life is what you let yourself get used to. And so it
Mm.
really is important to let yourself get used to enough, to wholeness, to rest. I know the productivity and guilt thing is so intriguing to me because everyone talks about this. I don't have anything deeper to say about it. Let me meditate on it and get back to you.
I would love a Brianna thought process on the toxic productivity of it all. Like I would love some social media posts or something to,
Let
to
me get
know
back
more
to
about like your thoughts.
because I
Yes.
know I like can sense that I have thoughts. You know what I
You
mean?
Yeah, I can sense you have thoughts.
I like know I do.
Yeah.
But I do I find it intriguing also because I think that after a workout, when you rest the muscle, it comes back so much stronger. And if you don't rest, the body deteriorates. But also, I think it has some pretty deep roots in like you work and things are hard. You don't get to enjoy an hour of your life. And this is a real thing I am describing. And I've never met someone who didn't struggle with it in some way, shape, or form. It's time for us to get past that.
Also with the delaying gratification, like there are so many things that it's like we just have to all prioritize living our joy today.
Yeah.
That's like the thesis statement.
Don't open your safe and find ashes.
Don't open your safe and find ashes. So, your newest book, The Life That's Waiting, it's unsurprisingly so good. I highly recommend to everybody to read it. To summarize the book, you've written, behind the life you are trying to hold together, on the other side of the life you are forcing to work, is the life that is waiting. Can you share what you mean when you talk about the life that you're trying to hold together versus the life that is waiting?
It's exactly what we were just talking about a few minutes ago of the life you had planned when you were younger for a version of yourself that you no longer are, the life that your parents think you're supposed to be living, the life that's just keeping up with your peers, the life that you know deep down is wrong, but you're not ready to even admit that to yourself. And not even wrong, but just not as aligned as it could or should be. It's the things you have to force to be rather than the things that just are. And I think the reason a lot of us fear letting go of those things is because we think there's nothing on the other side when there's actually everything on the other side. When we let go of our comforting idea of what life should be, we open ourselves to what life is, which is so much richer and more whole, more beautiful than we really can even imagine. But for a lot of people, that entryway it only comes at a point of some kind of loss or some kind of hardship or challenge. And it doesn't have to be that way. It's just that it is for a lot of people. That's the moment, that's kind of break moment where they're like, okay, whoa, nothing I thought I cared about matters, or I'm ready to change a lot now that, this relationship's done, this whatever's done. The book itself is written kind of like a dictionary of feelings, or an encyclopedia rather. So when you go through the table of contents, it's like, read this when your heart is breaking, read this when you don't know what your purpose is, read this when you feel lost. And I meant for it to just kind of be a little life companion guide to get you to the other side. And those words you're reading are on the back cover. And I wanted them to be a really important frame for when you are journeying through life's valleys and you're picking up a book like this for some guidance or encouragement or affirmation while you're there. I wanted that to be your reminder that the silver linings are showing you the light of day that's waiting. The light at the end of the tunnel is your tomorrow. That glowing horizon is a very whole and beautiful next chapter and phase of your life that will emerge when you're done with the letting go, the shedding, the grieving. And by the way, there's not one thing wrong with you for going through anything like that. Actually, there's something very, very right with you, because the best people I know and have ever known in my entire life have been the ones who have had the courage and the heart to let go of a surface level way of living and to dive deep into truth of who they are and what matters. And those people have a wholeness and a kindness, a sensitivity and awareness. And it's unmistakable who's gone there and who hasn't. You don't have to wait for life to pull it away from you. You know how the universe whispers until it screams? Your instincts whisper until they scream. You don't have to wait for them to scream to choose to change. And I think that collectively, as in a big, broad stroke, I don't know that we're quite there yet, but I hope that we will be soon. The place where we don't have to wait for life to pull it out from under us. We can meet it in the moment and say, I can change course before this turns into a big problem. I'm on my book tour right now, and I've met maybe 5 or 6 people in the last 48 hours, I'm not even kidding you, who have said things to me, something in the vein of, a year ago, I lost my job, and I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. And then I woke up 3 months later, and I kind of smiled to myself and thought, I really hated that job.
Wow.
I've heard it again and again and again, where it's like life pulled this out. But then I was like, you know what? That was not working, actually. And it was almost in that surrender, in that place of, I'm not even trying to convince myself I want this or like this anymore. They started this way bigger journey of building something completely different in its place. The thing that they wanted to be there the entire time. It's not inevitable that we will all get to that place of like understanding that, or in that rebuild place. We choose what we make of it. Do you know what I mean? We choose for it to be a lesson. We choose to take the lesson and carry it with us. We choose to seek the opportunity and find it. Napoleon Hill has a quote, every adversity, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But the most important word to me in that sentence is seed. It must be planted. It must be watered. It must be nurtured. It is not just going to emerge. I mean, maybe for some people it does, but I've never found that to be the case. It's the seed. And I think that the journey you go on to extract it and build that, that's like the purpose of your life, because that's the person you become in between. And then ironically, that person you become doing that is the one who's actually ready for the thing.
I always call it like the thank God moment, where if you go through a breakup or you don't get the job that you really wanted or whatever, there's always a moment in the future where you look back and you say, thank God it didn't work out with that asshole, or like, thank God I didn't get the job, because there is something so much better for me. But to your point, you have to like live so that you plant the seed, so that you nurture the seed, so that you do get to the thank God moment. It's kind of like, you think you want to be in a really happy relationship, but then the relationship that you're in goes to hell and it doesn't work out. And you're thinking like, this is the opposite of what I want. But then that's like planting the seed of, okay, well, what didn't work? What was not good in this relationship? And then that little bit, like the little bit that you're rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding, that version of you is then able to select a partner that actually becomes the relationship that you wanted all along, that
Yes.
you wouldn't have had with the previous partner.
Yeah.
100%. I also love that the book is called The Life That's Waiting instead of like the life that could be or your best life. The life that is waiting is so much more powerful because it's like, it's there if you want it. If you go after it, it's already there. It's already yours.
The way that I like to think about it too is nothing presses us to release it unless something else is imminently waiting to arrive. And that's also what I mean by the life is waiting. So even if you can't see it, you wouldn't be in the place of having to let go of one thing if another thing weren't trying to make its way in.
That's so good. All right, Brianna, we're going to wrap up with some rapid fire. I also just realized that we've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes. I literally thought it was 30 minutes. I'm like in awe. So I will make this quick because I know you're very, very busy.
Fine.
Okay, fill in the blank. If everyone had this one habit, it would change their life.
Meditating.
Do you have like a routine that you do every day?
Every morning as soon as I wake up for 5 minutes.
Do you try to do any kind of like strategy of you just like allow yourself to notice thoughts that come up?
Just still the waters of the mind. If I can do longer, I would. But I think sometimes you have to make it easy.
Yeah, approachable. Favorite book that you read this past year?
The Perfectionist's Guide to Losing Control.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. Sounds like I need that.
We all need it. Don't worry.
We all need it. Favorite song to listen to when you want to tap into that confident best self, tap into the life that's waiting for you? What song do you listen to?
Changes like every day. Right now, it's the song's Change Is Gonna Come. And I don't remember the artist, but I just heard it actually at a hotel lobby like 2 days ago. And I was like, yeah, I like it. I was like Shazamming it.
If that's not a sign of the universe giving you what you need, my God.
It was like a wild moment. I walked in and I couldn't even hear I didn't even know what was playing. I was like, I didn't know why. I was like, I really like this song. And I just Shazammed it really quick. And the title was Change Is Gonna Come. And I was like,
that's pretty spooky.
I was like, oh boy.
Crazy. That is crazy. Whoa. Sounds like some big old change is coming.
Life is trying to talk to me, but I'm like busy. You know what I mean? So it's like, right, how could we possibly get through to her? Here you go.
Oh, yeah, catchy song in the hotel lobby. Yeah. Thank God for Shazam.
Yes.
Brianna, where can everybody find you and get your new book?
On Instagram at Brianna Wiest and BriannaWiest.com for the links to the books.
I will want to do a part 3 with you. Like, I'm like, we could have gone in for like 10 more hours.
You got it. Seriously, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much.
I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Evergirl Podcast on Instagram or theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.